I'm so excited to be joined today by Michelle Whiteside, owner of Leveling Up with Michelle. Michelle, you're a professional and you're a professional business coach and life coach. Is that right?
Yes, I am.
Specialize in things like mindfulness.
Health and all forms of recovery.
Yeah. And, you know, I got a chance to learn about you and your business, and I'm so excited to share what you do and who you are with the community. But let's talk about how you got to be a life coach. Like what led you to that right now for being there today?
Well, it's been a journey, like a lifelong journey. I'm really choked up today. I don't know why. But I am a hairdresser, 28 years here in the county, and always have been helping people. First job was Nordstrom. Um, and as I grew, I learned a lot of things, as we all do with trauma and growing and all the trials and tribulations that we've all had, trauma and so forth. Right before COVID, actually like a year before COVID, things started happening in my world that I was very divinely inspired to look at, like a lot of us. And I knew that I needed some big change. And I knew that I had been told that when you go through big situations that you get help and you go do something big. It doesn't have to be a new business, or it doesn't have to be, like a new entrepreneurship or anything else, but just something for yourself. And so I went to school to become a master transformational coach through the Health Institute. Little did I know that it was a personal development school as well. So all the coaching that I learned and the modalities there, in addition to what I learned as going through life, since I've been doing this for a long time, was also with me, with my coach. And they become my best friends, and we, practice and so forth. And I grew, and I went through some pretty big changes in my life. The one's way up there. The only one I think is not on there is death, but it was death of an old me, right? So I knew that I had a calling. I've always loved helping people in the shop. I still adore how I get to help people and listen and be there for them, and the relationships and how people grow, right? And then I grow too. That's how it works. It's like the therapy thing, right? It's different. And so I went to school, and I became a coach and did more schooling, and kind of fell into it that way, that I just had a calling to do that. I knew that I kind of wanted to go into psychology. I am 53 years old. I didn't really want to go to school for 8 more years. And I got my certificate for drug and alcohol counseling and so forth. I didn't want to do that every day. So I went to the Health Institute to become a master life coach.
You've launched that into some really fulfilling work within the community already. So one of the jobs that you have right now is you're working with kids at Marin Oaks. Is that right? I mean, anybody that's older than being a teenager can reflect back at how difficult that time of life can be for some. Lots of pressures, lots of changes in their chemical makeup and their physical makeup. It's such a weird time in life. So talk about what you do for these teens at that school.
For what they do for me. They're amazing. So I fell into it. It was kind of, I didn't know I'd be working with kids. I have my own that are a little older than teenagers, not much. And but I fell into it, and it really kind of changed me. I teach the Meet the Future You program, which I've created. And last year I had taught a semester with the students, and the students do lots of different things. So these students a lot of times are in round hole, square peg, like I was. And they're amazing kids, and they just don't know how amazing based on old beliefs, old programming, trauma, doing the same thing over again, expecting different results and not knowing why things aren't matching up their heart. But then this happens and they don't, and no one in that rapport where they can ask those questions, whether they're about drugs and alcohol or relationships, with their families. But they get to learn mindfulness. They learn to meditate. They ground the room. They do different interactions. I'm having them do it now. I've had students back this year that were in my class, which is awesome. And they get to learn how to quiet that critter brain, right? They get to count to 10 with the pause, but also with purpose. So they get to find out what's really important to them, which I know for myself and I hear from my kids would be huge. And also to have that safe place where they feel trust and they get to grow, but they are doing this themselves. I'm just channeling and putting back to them what they're doing. And they always look like I caught them with their pants down, because it's like, they're like, oh, I have a big heart. Oh my God. Yeah, because they're surprised, and it's just beautiful. So they get to do things that I think is so important to learn. I think a lot of us, if we had some of these tools besides the 4 R's, right, it would change the world, because it's how we walk in the world, right? With self-confidence, more self-esteem, to know that they can do anything they want if it's been done. And if it hasn't, they can do that too.
That's awesome. So Meet the Future You is what you have this called?
Yeah, Meet the Future You.
So that sounds like there's probably some goal setting involved. Is that correct?
Yes. Not so much SMART goals, but they have goals and they have different activities that they do in alignment with their why. So we always start the same way. We start out knowing their motivating factor. That's what that's called. Their MOFA, their why, their deepest why. So for instance, you love driving a car. It goes really fast. Why do you like driving a car? Well, it's fast. Okay, well, it's fast. So what does that mean to you? Well, I can feel the wind in my hair. What does it mean when you feel the wind in the hair? How do you feel? Well, I feel alive. What does alive feel to you? And as you work it down a few whys, you find out, I feel free. I can have control. I can take myself where I want to go. I can make plans. It's like that. We each have a why while we're walking on this planet. And if you know that, you can always ask yourself, is that bringing you closer to what you want to do, or further away? But also to know yourself, right? That's really important to you. So we start that way. We start the class the same way every week. So they have that continuity of what went well and obstacles, and then we do something new. And it kind of builds on itself, right? And without them knowing, all of a sudden they're walking through the world differently. I'm hearing stories like, I helped my dad learn to breathe because freaking out, or whatever it is. And some of the things I've had that have been brought to me, and how they're looking at things, and how they're wanting to go in these different ways to learn this and to have this business here, or they love to cook, or it just comes out organically. It's pretty awesome.
That's super awesome, and so impactful, and such powerful work to be doing. I mean, classes like that didn't exist when I was in high school. I wish they did. I mean, those are tools that can be utilized for the rest of your life. And I can't remember, what tests I had to pass to get through certain classes, but I would remember all that stuff. That's impactful stuff.
Right. And I talk about trauma and things like that too. And, drugs and alcohol, those other things. And I'm asked questions that I get surprised that I'm being asked, but I don't think they have that trust. I think it's really important who works with them to build that rapport. Because they're my people, right? I love it. I'm a kid. So, it's so important, but I think it would have changed my life. I'm glad it didn't, because I wouldn't be who I am now. Right. But a lot of us have to go through a lot of things that they don't need to go through with everything too. And they can grow from there. Right.
You do some work with the jail and the people in the jail, and the detox.
I do.
So how did you get aligned with that? And, what are you doing in that field?
Well, I facilitate groups. I got into that because of my own recovery with codependency and other areas. And I love that too. They're awesome. I get to go in there. I go in there every month and help and kind of do the same thing. I think this is across the board for all of us. I do this with my business owners. I do this with my entrepreneurships and my coaches that are working on their businesses, and with kids and little kids too. I mean, a little harder with the little ones, only because it's a little bit more not as cognitive, but I do that, and I go into the detox and do the same thing, and just bring, like, basically, I think it's the world now too, is like what I've done. It's nothing different, and bringing it to them and sharing it with them and paying it forward. But that's how we grow, and without the shame and without the um, not telling the truth. But that's how we grow, and that's how we help, that we're not alone and we grow. And so I bring that in there as well.
So that's interesting. You work with youth. You work with people that are, in maybe their hardest parts of life. If they're, coming out of a detox, coming out of, drugs, alcohol. Um, they might not be bad people, but they've done bad things. Um, you know, um, but but you also work with business owners and entrepreneurs, and you help, yeah, like that's some versatility. So what would you say, like, how would somebody come cross paths with you and be able to get to work with you?
Well, they could go to my website at levelingupwithmichelle.com, or they can call me. I'm going to leave my number. I don't know if that's appropriate. And they can also go on LinkedIn and find me there, and they'll see my calendar link there, and I'm on LinkedIn. I received the Mindfulness Voice Authority. It was really cool. Actually, yesterday. It was really neat. But you can find me there, and you can get my information there. That's probably the best way. I'm also on social media. I do a lot of that because I was told to do that, and it's good for me. I step out of my comfort zone. Yeah.
I think I've stepped out of my comfort zone. I mean, doing things like this you could have never told me 5 years ago I'd be doing stuff like this. But what's been great is it's a very important thing to do in terms of, and it was brought on by COVID, because I started thinking about business owners and how are they going to be getting in front of people with all the businesses shuttered and everyone stuck at home. And I thought, well, I can still talk to people, and people were on their computer more than they ever were. And a lot of people started to turn back into local people that were the fabric of the community. And the standalone website like what you have is great, but what's even better? Like knowing who's behind that website, like seeing an example of how they talk and carry themselves and what they actually do. And I think that's what really got me to doing this in the first place. And so it's not going away. Everybody's going to be spending more and more time with video and looking at things before they make decisions that are available to them. And I think it's a gift to the community that you've spent time with me today to just talk about what you do and how you service the community and the types of things you do for it. So I really, really appreciate your time here today.
You're awesome. Thank you.
Is there anything else that you want to cover before we...
No, but I just want to say for everybody out there that to have compassion with themselves, and they don't have to know the answers, because there's a lot of us out there that can help, absolutely help, and there's no shame in that, and that we don't do this alone, and to go big or go home.
Love that. Go big or go home. And that can mean a number of things, but another thing that I think is important that you and I talked about before we hit record was that means, being a full participant in your life, like really going big or going home. Like to go big is like to be intentional with what you're doing, to, really not just go through the motions, but to like go big. Like that's what you mean by that, right?
Yeah, it's basically we keep ourselves small right? We just do. We don't know that we are, but we know that like, oh, we're here, but I can't get my business here. Why? I'm doing all the right things. I have the right intention versus impact and all of this, but then why? It's because we're so used to keeping ourselves small from what we learned that we're kind of, I don't want to say blocked because no one's broken, no one's blocked, but you're kind of stuck. And so it's kind of like we're just for who we are to embrace that. Because when you have that and you're in alignment, you are going to go big or go home. There is no, well, because we just keep ourselves small, and none of us need to do that because we all have a purpose here to help or be, even if it's just a smile at the grocery store or whatever it is, who knows? It could be putting something in place in a business realm, right? So the thing is to go big or go home. It's like, this is it. It's all, I may not remember the next time, or I don't know how people believe what they believe, but it's all about that there's no dress rehearsal here. And a lot of us thinks we were doing what we're supposed to, but that's because we learned that's what we were supposed to. But something gets kind of in there and you kind of know, and you're like, yeah, I don't know. And that's what that means. It's for yourself. Meaning, if you're going to do something and be in alignment, go for it. I just got goosebumps. This is what we do, right? And a lot of more people are realizing that, oh yeah, consciously, there's a lot more. And who am I? And why am I doing that? And I think I want to do this. And I'm really scared. I'm going through a divorce. And now what? I don't even know what to order on a menu because I took care of my kids and my husband. And now what? Right? So it's like not holding back from yourself, because that's all roads lead to Oz, and everything comes back to ourselves, right?
100%. So you are the person to talk to take people from, those ideas to putting them in action and really kind of organizing that
changing
process.
Their life internally and externally. So within, so without. So huge shifts. People tell me, well, I see it, but at about 3 weeks, most of my clients start to glow. I kid you not. They just get this air about them, and people notice it. Oh, you're funnier. Like, people come up to them and say, you're funny. Well, they were always funny, but it's all that but that's who they are. They're not changing into someone new. That's who they are. That's their essence. We're just dusting stuff off and holding a flashlight and saying, look, right? And and it just happens. It's so woo-woo, like little steps. How do you eat an elephant, right? Little steps, and all of a sudden, and they're like, wow. But it's just who they are. There's no magic in that. Magic is who they are, right? They're not changing into somebody else. They're just changing into who they are. Without fear, without being held back, or even still growing. Everybody keeps learning, right? There's no perfect, but there is a rudder, right? They know, they can kind of feel that, right?
That's before leveling up with Michelle, and then there's leveling up with Michelle.
Leveling up, time to go big or go home. You're leveling up with yourself, which brings everything else out here, right? Mindset's everything.
Well, I love that. Mindset is everything. It's such an the mind is the most powerful thing. You're right or you're wrong.
But the mindset comes from the heart, really, because the heart knows. The mind just asks questions over and over again. But we're so used to being in the mind that we forgot to link the body, to link the heart. And that's where all of our intuition is. That's where we know what's right for ourselves. That's how we're in alignment and relationship with each other. And the mindfulness is being aware of those things that come in that take us away from our game, right? That come in, and taking steps to slow down and to do meditation, or going into nature, or there's so many little things you can do, even in a corporate setting, of listening to sounds that change exactly how you are in that moment, an archetype. So there's a lot of different little ways to go in, but it's all about mindfulness, right? Being aware, conscious.
Well, I am so grateful for you and for your time today. I'm looking forward to talking to you again offline soon. And also just so grateful that I could share with you, with the community. So thank you so much for your time and taking some time to introduce you to what you do and how you service the community. You add a ton of value to Novato and to Marin County. And you shouldn't be kept a secret. So thank you so much, Michelle. I really appreciate it.
It was awesome talking to you, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.